Hey, hey, hey. Hey, friends, we are live. We are live. I have my red wine in tow. Cheers to what's going to be a super fun time. Super good time connecting. Hello, Mayor. Hello, Danica. There's my girls. There's my girls coming in. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, Laurie. Hey, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys come on in, and then as soon as I see Kelly arrive, then I will invite her in and we will get going. I have so much to say. You know that experience where you have so much to say and you have a bunch of different perspectives and I never know. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, look at all these people. Awesome. There you are. There's Kelly. Awesome. I don't know if I invite you in or there we go. Yes. Come on in, girlfriend. Kelly Chase is here. Here we go. Let's see if we can do this. Thank you, Danica.
Hi.
There she is.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, girl.
How are you? You look so pretty.
Oh, thanks. I threw on my red. You look pretty too, because I know this was like the quick change. Because a minute ago you were pushing a wheelchair or like a wheelbarrow.
Yes. Yeah. Did the yard work today, so I was like,
I organize it.
Yeah, got a little makeup on for you.
You look great. You look awesome. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. This, everybody, just so you know, this is the first Instagram Live I've done with a guest. In fact, it was only my first Instagram Live that I did the other day about Love is Blind. I have been everywhere in media, but never on Instagram Live. And I don't know how to get my head to not be cut off. Do you know?
I mean, you just gotta
back up.
Yeah, back up.
Let me back up. There we go. I'm too close. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Sweet. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much. Kelly comes to me by way of Samantha Joy, who is a mutual friend, a friend I met here in Colorado, who I don't know how you guys know each other, but you're probably in the same age range and have done things together in the coaching world.
Yeah. We have not met in person yet. We were introduced by a really good friend of mine. So like Insta besties, basically.
That is awesome. So I just appreciate your willingness to get on a live with a stranger on the internet. And I just am so grateful. I have never gotten hooked on a reality show or been very involved in them before, though they've been around forever. And I had a girl weekend where my husband was away and I thought, what am I going to do? And I think I'll just binge something fun. I was absolutely hooked and obsessed, not only just because of the whole premise of it, but the psychology of it all. And is it possible? And is love is blind? And can we just fall in love sight unseen? Can we get past what might not, what we anticipated physically, plus the trappings of real life, right? Because there's a lot that makes up a successful love life and married life. And you know firsthand how the experience is. So if you could take a moment and just give us a sense of how much is really real. How was it for you? Do people get well represented, or is it just you're in shock and awe too when you're watching your story playback?
Yeah. Yeah, we are in shock and awe watching our story playback. So we saw it. I mean, when it airs, when it drops to the world, that's the first time we see it too. So we do not get to see anything prior to the world seeing it. So yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I mean, it was a wild experience for sure. It was just so wild. I mean, it's a very intense experience. I mean, obviously there are two couples that got married from my season, which was season, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen season 2, there are two couples married here too.
Exactly. Everybody needs to have watched, because this is a free-for-all today about all the things, right?
If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, don't watch this.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I obviously I learned so much about myself from that whole experience. I mean, it really was the catalyst into my deeper self-love journey, which was, and I think that's I believe that was kind of a thing for everyone. I mean, whether they got married or whatever, you know, or they are still single, that type of thing. Like, it was such a journey for everyone. And I think so many of us really improved who we were as human beings for the most part, not everybody, but you know, we had like, you know, it's like it just opened our mind to, you know, communicate better, be more vulnerable with your partner and that kind of
Yes.
thing. Whether
Yes.
not, like, it just was such a profound experience. Love is blind. I mean, I remember, so like on our season, my person was Kenny, and like, I mean, I definitely had this like super strong emotional connection with him. And
Yes, it looked like it.
yeah, and it was interesting because like when the doors opened for us, when we had our like engagement reveal, I honestly, like, I was like, he's attractive, but I don't know if I'm actually attracted fully to him, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And you know, within a matter of minutes, he then kissed me, and like the kiss was like there was a spark with the kiss.
Nice.
I was like, oh, okay.
That helps.
Okay, that helps. And Mexico, and of course, you know, I didn't know who the other people were. And one of the connections that I had made that was pretty strong was Damien, who wound up with Giannina.
Yes.
So Damien was there, and I just remember there was a moment where I was like looking around at all the couples, and I looked at Kenny. I mean, he didn't notice me doing this, but like I look at Kenny, and I just like remember being like, I made such a good decision. Like I was,
yeah.
I mean, it had maybe been, you know, whatever, 24, 48 hours, you know, kind of thing. But I was so involved. I was so much more attracted to Kenny because of the emotional connection that we had, you know?
You
like,
guys honestly seemed so solid. So you communicated well. You looked like best friends. You looked similar temperaments. You
yeah.
know, yeah, there were struggles, and we all know that part of it. But
Mhm.
you know, I think it was surprising. At least when I watched it, I thought, yeah, there's just this could work.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I think it could work. And of course, there's a big long story for you around that.
Yeah.
Tell me, because it's a long time from the time that you film
Yeah.
until the show comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, so it was 18, I think it was like around 18 months for us.
And are you sworn to secrecy? And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously we're, you know, you sign contracts and all of that. And,
yeah.
you know, I mean, luckily for me, I didn't have anything to really hide because I didn't like, you know, marry anyone.
Right, you don't have to sneak around, right?
I didn't have to sneak around, you know, not post any pictures, that kind of thing. But
yes.
yeah, but yeah, it was 18 months for us. And I think season 2, I just learned this, I guess, this past week, but I think it's been less than a year.
Yeah.
They filmed last spring, like maybe April or June. I don't know, something coming up.
Yeah, I think they're talking about it's been like a 9-month kind of thing
Yeah.
for them up to the reunion show.
Right. Yep.
Which I kind of felt like that's a good thing, because I just can't imagine like having it draw out that long.
Oh.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I think anyone who's willing to do this, one is a big time risk taker and very courageous, regardless of what it might do for you, you know, from your own personal platform or where you go after it and the celebrity that is inevitable in it. Like you show up, and for the most part, everybody shows up really trying to be honest and authentic with each other in front of the whole world, which is like, just from the, you know, exposure of that could be so shame inducing, right?
Totally.
You have your most vulnerable experiences portrayed. Like it just would take an awful lot, I think. And tragically, and we'll get into this more, then it goes out in the world, and it's a free for all then around how people treat you. And, you know, I don't feel like they remember these are actually real people who bared their soul and were courageous, and we got to walk into their world.
Absolutely.
And yet we think, but they're characters, they're cast.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And so then we're all just treating them like cast, or like, you know, avatars in a movie.
I think that was one of your questions earlier was, you know, like how much of it is real. I mean, I can't speak for season 2, but I want to say they did it very real as well. But I mean, nothing was scripted. I will tell you that nothing was scripted, but they may have encouraged particular conversation to happen. You know, like,
Interesting. Okay.
oh, can you guys talk about what having kids, you know, do you guys want kids? Have a conversation on that. Or have a
Okay.
conversation about, you know, where you're at financially. But like, I mean, if you went as far as you wanted to go with that, like,
Yeah.
every single time that Kenny and I had a conversation, it was like an hour and a half long. Like we just kept diving in and diving in and diving in. Like, well, what if this? And what if this? And what if this? And okay, well, you know, speaking of like the, you know, having children or something, I mean, we went all the way to like, okay, well, would we want to adopt if I couldn't have children? Or would we want to adopt?
Oh my gosh, you guys are really sorting it out.
Yeah. Like
That's intense.
it was very intense. So of course, you know, it's, you know, and everything's filmed within, technically it's, I mean, with including the weddings are the 7th week. So from start to finish, it's a 7-week process for us. So you can imagine like these super honest and vulnerable conversations. I mean, and again, I speak for Kenny and I alone because I don't know what happened in between everyone else.
Uh-huh.
But for us, it was like we just got to know each other so fast,
Mm-hmm.
super deep level. And then obviously it was just like, gone.
Yeah. There was heartbreak in there for you. I know. It did not end up going down the path you intended or thought you were in mutual agreement about, which would be, you know, shocking and hard. And, you know, heartbreak is hard. And you guys had a lot going for you. And then to be ghosted, I think is fair to say,
I
a
mean,
little bit.
I don't like to use the word ghosted because
Wrong word. Okay.
we did have a conversation about it, but it's like the conversation was very brief. So I was like, I was just very in shock when he had said, I don't, you know, I can't give you a relationship because I'm not emotionally there right now. And like, let's give ourselves some time.
Yeah.
But it was just so shocking because like, I thought we had this plan and then now we don't have a plan. Like what? So, and it was very brief. And then after that,
Yes.
you know, it was literally, it was like within it was a 5-minute conversation. Like we had 5 minutes before he had to go interview. And I was just left like, what just happened? Like what just happened, you know? And I look.
You're getting some nice grace in the comments. Empathy and grace. I just saw a little bit of empathy and grace coming your way there. Around that happening to you. We got a little bit of.
Like I mean, we had like a very short conversation. And then, you know, there was a few days had gone by and I know I texted him about something, you know, not something, but about that situation. Like, this is how I'm feeling, blah, blah, blah. And he just reiterated through text, you know, a very nice response and everything. But I still like, it's like, I didn't get the close. Like we never had like a conversation about it. And not to say that you have to, I couldn't get this closure that I needed to be like, well, what, like, but like, why? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I just kept thinking like, okay, I was able to like compartmentalize, like, this was my experience with the show, but I had an experience with you too. Whereas he put me in the box of his experience with the show and he was just over the show. And since I was the show, he was just over it all. And like, and I will give him this. And I said this in an interview one time. I was like, you know, looking back, obviously he was just very aware. He was self-aware and he knew that he could not give me a relationship. He could not date me at that time because he was checked out. And I get it. And it was probably a few weeks later, I had started working with like a mindset coach myself and we started diving into everything. Yeah. And, you know, again, looking back, I'm like, wow, you know, this was like one of the most powerful revelations I had was like, I was never in love with him. Like I loved getting to know him. I loved the man that he was, but I was never in love with him. And obviously that is why I said no at the altar ultimately, you know, and I chose myself and, you know, whatever. But I recognized that it was not the pain of like losing someone I'm in love with. It was the pain of the rejection. Like it was pain of rejection. And there's a big thing. And I think that's like, could be, you know, so many people can relate to that. And like, you know, they get broken up with or whatever. And it's like, but if you take a step back and you like really assess your relationship, if when you get broken up with, there's usually some type of red flag situation, but a lot of us overlook it and all that, you know. And there was a time, I remember there was a moment with Kenny, and I felt something different, and it kind of like go in your gut, but I just like didn't say anything. And so I could have addressed that gut feeling earlier and saved myself heartache, but I wasn't where I am today.
I know. And, you know, I've just been kind of like, you know, scouring your journey a little bit and seeing you on Instagram and going to your website and everything. I mean, it seems to me that you just really undertook personal growth and personal transformation. You took it on like amazing.
Thanks.
Because my experience of you on the show and what I'm watching now, honestly, it brings me to tears, because you've obviously completely got in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
As a woman, emotionally, sexually. Your journey, I have to tell you, really, really was poignant for me, because I saw myself in your story.
Oh.
Yes, which was once upon a time, that was me, coming from a very kind of sexually naive background. No wonder, you know, in my transformation over time, I became a sex therapist, because I had no education. I was not in touch with that part of myself. I ended up in a bad first marriage, not a bad first marriage, I don't take anything back, with someone who was a sexual addict. And I didn't know how to grab hold of that or manage that because of my naivete. Right. You know, we were fine sexually, but like, I just did not know what I needed to know.
Right.
And I was kind of picking that up in your story. And I just wanted to go, oh my gosh, girl, like, let's get that part of your life alive, because I think you're going to have it all.
I know. I know, and now I do bring in collaborations with vibrator and toy companies, you know.
I love it. So do I, right?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. They're really, and you know, life is a journey, and it's such a beautiful thing that, you know, until you close your eyes for the last time and take your last breath, like you can continue every single day to become a better person. And as you deepen that love within, you just show up so much more as a better person for other people, for, you know, and it's just been so profound. And yeah, it just, I mean, it makes me emotional too, because I'm like, oh my God.
And I'm so happy for you. It's clear to me from what I've witnessed, and to be able to do that work. I certainly did years of therapy and years of work in order to be an expert patient. Right. And of course, my heart, and I'm sure yours is too, that you wish everyone would do their work. And fall in love with themselves and work through their trauma and work through their histories and recover whatever it may be for them, so they can live a life that is quality, that is connected, where they have the capacity not only to love themselves, but love another. And be healthy in relationships and with themselves and with others. And so I think that's what makes this show so tense and hard sometimes, is not everybody's in that lane necessarily of having done any personal growth prior to this, or are they even signing up for that? And yet you do hear many of them kind of go, I'm learning about myself, or this is like a lot. I mean, it's hard to be learning about yourself in front of the whole world.
Right. Oh yeah.
For you, when you watch the show the second time around, I mean, you've got to have it just a whole perspective around what they're walking through.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How was it for you to witness this season and what unfolded?
Yeah. So,
and we'll get into all the little like relationships in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, at first, like it always brings up emotions, you know, like, and I, you know, because it wasn't because necessarily like watching the show and things were reminding me of like my situation, my experience from the show, but it was more like, I know what these people are about to go through. And so it's more of the, like, I just wanted to like protect them all and like hug them and be like, block anybody who is mean to you. Just haters are going to come and just block them out. Like, don't do it. And so, I mean, I was like Mama Bear. I really like once Love is Blind Netflix, the Instagram account, posted all of the people, you know, prior to the show airing, I like literally like just followed every single one of them, and I reached out to like I would say probably half the cast, if not more.
Nice.
It just was like, hey, like it's Kelly from season one. I was like, I'm here for you. Please let me know if you have any questions, like anything. Like I'm here to totally support you. And I've like, I mean, now I'm like friends with some of them because I do.
Yeah.
Like, we exchange personal phone numbers. Like we've talked on the phone. Like because
Yes.
it's a
You've been
lot.
like their mentor.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot. And I mean, I honestly, I had a conversation with Shake the other day, so that was,
Mhm.
yeah, it was interesting. I won't talk,
Should we start there, or where do you want to start around kind of what unfolded, the different individuals, their psychologies, the couples? What do you want to jump in around? Because I know a lot of people want to know our opinions or our perspectives around the people,
Yes.
what we think about them,
Yeah.
what we wonder about their relationships, or what kinds of thoughts we have about it. Everybody has so many opinions and thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
And that's a credit to the kind of show it is, when it's so real and you feel so involved and you feel like you know these people because they're being honest and authentic. Then you're just in it, and you feel like you have so much to say, good or bad. It can take you through a little bit of your own emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I guess we can, whatever, however you want to dive in is fine.
Well, why don't we just sort of jump in couple to couple and take it from there? Let's just start, since you brought up his name, Shake and Deepti.
Yes.
Kind of what you think about that. I will certainly jump in. I have a little bit of a devil's advocate opinion around Shake. He is certainly everybody's greatest villain right now, everywhere. And there's much to say about him. And of course, now Deepti is just, she was featured on Vogue India today as being just this cultural icon now for doing things unlike Indian women and
Right.
saying, I deserve more. I don't have to just settle.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have to just say yes to marriage because we're supposed to marry. I'm going to choose me, which was huge and compelling.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, my perception of them, leading up to their wedding was like, uh, I mean, I understand, like, yes, like, I mean, there has to, I do believe maybe where I'm at right now in my life, like, I do believe like there has to be some type of physical, sexual chemistry. There just does. So, like,
Yeah.
there was a part of me that was like, okay, Shake, like I get it. Like, yes, the things that he said about whatever, like I feel like I'm hanging out with my family, or I feel like I'm like talking to my aunt or whatever, like whatever, like it could have been a lot worse. I mean, whatever, I think that's like Deepti at the reunion. She was like, your aunt's probably really cool. And he's like, she is. But like
Right.
like I get it. Like he was saying critical things, not necessarily, I don't even know, like he was definitely being superficial about that. Like
Yes.
he needs someone that he's physically attracted to, which fine. Okay. You get that, but yeah, I never saw them working because of that. Like, I mean, he was very
Yes.
about the fact he was just not physically attracted to her and
Yes.
whatever. And
I kept hoping he would leap.
yes,
I kept hoping he would just try and
yes,
just show up and in some way start touching each other, do something that might spur something. There
yeah,
is a thing, I'm sure you know about it, called responsive desire. And I kept thinking, well, we can be really emotionally connected to someone, but not feel physically connected until things get going.
yes,
And
yeah,
I thought, did they ever try to get going? I was hoping, honestly, because, the massage scene, I thought, oh, maybe it happened then. And we're going to learn that,
right,
yes,
right.
they
Well,
found their sexual connection. And
yeah,
then we're all going to go, yay, because it was going to be a beautiful Indian wedding. And we all
right.
wanted to see
Absolutely.
that.
And I mean, to speak on that, I mean, like I said a little bit ago, I was like, I wasn't like, when the doors opened for me with Kenny, I wasn't like, whoa, like super attracted to him. But as soon as he kissed me,
Right.
then things
Did
changed.
you just leap a little bit past all of I thought he had an awful lot of anxiety and a
Yeah,
lot of blocks and a lot of worry. And he was very hung up on having to be physically attracted, not just with the looks, but he didn't feel it in his body. He reported
right.
saying.
Yeah.
When he was talking to the friends, I think where he shot himself in the foot was the realization that you're on TV and that's going to come back at you.
Yeah.
But I do think he was drawing alongside other guys going, I just don't have it. And do you have it? And I'm not getting it. And she feels like this. And, you
Right.
know, to hear that later as a woman, nobody wants to hear that as a woman. We want to hear that someone just thinks they're just crazy for us, that we're just hot and that we're just wanted.
Absolutely.
And they had so much going for each other. And she was trying so hard with him
Yeah.
to then have that be revealed later in the way it happened for her watching for the first time. I thought, yeah, ouch.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think he's got so much blindedness around what is socially and interpersonally the norm.
Yeah.
And he resists it and or rebels against it on purpose. But sometimes I think he just doesn't even get it.
Well, that's what, so, I mean, again, I won't go into the specifics of our phone conversation, but because again, you know what, honestly, that he was probably one person that I had not reached out to, and no, nothing against him. Again, I think I just randomly like picked a handful of people to like reach out to. And anyway, so, but I had, I guess, like messaged with Deepti, and she was just saying, you know, like, yeah, he's the villain, like he's getting attacked, and I'm like worried for him and all this stuff, because she's a good, I mean, whatever he says, like he's still a human, and
Yes.
like, hate doesn't help the situation, right? So,
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes.
yeah, still human. So I reached out and I was like, hey dude, like if you want to talk, like let's talk. And so I was expecting him to be like, I just like don't know how to handle this, like yeah, I'm getting so much hate, and like you know, whatever, and just be like in this, I don't know, like sad space or even frustrated. I don't know. But like talking to him, I recognized how it was the same language that he was using pretty much, like
Interesting.
as we watched on the reunion. And I was just very much like,
Right.
no matter what I was to say, he's not there open to receive this. Like, try like to say, because he was like, I'm fine. He was like, I'm totally fine. He's like, I know who I am. He's like, I know I'm superficial, and like, this is who I am. And I was like, I go, you know what? I can't argue your truth. If that's your truth of who you are, then so be it. I was like, I'm not going to argue what you think of yourself. If you're confident in who you are and what you want in life, then great. I was like, but don't.
And the rest of us have a hard time with that, because we're like, don't you see your issues? Don't you see how you're shooting yourself in your foot? Don't you see how you're creating your own chaos? Don't you see? And why aren't you trying to repair and fix yourself? Why aren't you going to therapy? Instead, we see him, you know, kind of capitalizing on the platform of being the villain and, you know, rah, rah, rah me. And we don't see what little bit of vulnerability we started to see in the show that gave us hope.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was hopeful that as well, for that as well. I feel like I feel like he wanted to get there, but but again, it's like he couldn't. And again, you know, I'm such a loving and charismatic person. I'm like, okay, like I get it. You can't get there, but it's just the way that he was expressing himself, obviously addressing, I didn't even see the video. I just heard about, like, he addressed his like Instagram, and then obviously me having the conversation, then hearing the reunion part, like, oh dear God. And then it wasn't just like, I mean, granted, you know, production is going to produce stuff to look a certain way, but like, awesome. So it could have been more exaggerated while we were watching it regardless, but like seeing his castmates and how every one of them was responding to him, I'm like, okay, no, like this isn't exaggerated produced.
And my experience was that as soon as we saw the opening scene of the reunion, like, this was a tense place.
Yeah.
Like, this is very solemn compared to even first season, right? We know that two couples got married. They're looking adorable, but the whole mood was just like, dang. So like, as soon as somebody opened their mouth, and they did, at least as we saw it, go straight for the hard topics, straight for the conflicts, straight for the problem areas, straight to the problem people, if you will. And it delivered, because I feel like they adequately sort of incited the experience with where they went initially.
Yeah.
They could have easily started out and said, oh my gosh, two happy couples, let's go there.
Right. No, they went.
You know, and as soon, it's like Shake could not even open his mouth without retribution and hostility. And people are saying, you know, read the room, choose differently, be different. Like if I'd have read that room, I'm not sure I'd have spoken up at all. And yet he does, and continues to just over provoke, project, overstep, comment on beautiful, you know, delicious, while honest, not really wise.
Correct. That's, I'm like, you know, it's like,
did it make for great drama? Yeah.
No, and it did. And again, I don't feel a type of way about Shake in the sense of like, oh, like he, you know, he deserves the hate that he's getting. Nothing, you know, like again, it's his truth. Like if that's who he is, then that's who he is, you know. But yeah, I mean, just like Ayana was like, dude, I think you should like go to therapy for narcissism. I was like, yes, that probably so.
Well, and there was a point when Deep T spoke up that you could see his face just kind of move into a place of like sensitivity and hurt. I saw it anyway, right? You could see his eyes glass a little bit. You could see there was impact. You could see that he was troubled with the way that she was seeing him and the things that she was saying, because I think there was respect.
Yeah.
I think there was love. I think there was connection. I think they probably talked, like you described, about everything. Yeah. And then it didn't go down where it worked out for them. And then she sees the hurtful things he did.
Absolutely. I think so too.
He never said, you know, he, in his limited way, say, you know, I wish some things had gone differently or I'd done it. Not a full, beautiful apology like we'd like.
Right.
I thought they really went after him. And tell me what you think about this. I was starting to look at it today, kind of like a family system, if you will. Is every family system that isn't working, that isn't healthy, that's dysfunctional, has to have the black sheep scapegoat.
Right.
To keep it all happy. So much easier than us having to look at all the other hard spots than it is to, let's just point the finger at the bad guy in the room who's the most awful, and let's throw it all at him. Right. And it plays well for TV, villains, good guys, bad guys, scapegoats. In a way, he kind of ended up saving some other areas that could have gone also really vulnerable. Yeah. A lot of people in this show got really, really trounced on in media.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, Danielle around her mental health took a beating. How unfortunate is that? In my eyes, they were really very, very honest, and she was very honest about her feelings and anxieties. Who of us doesn't have something going on that's hard or challenged, but she's out front about it. And then she kind of got annihilated, which, I mean, she had to pull away. So there's this touchy subject over there. Of course, there's Shane and Natalie. I mean, she just looks so sad. And he, you know, in the last chapter of the show, just looks like he can barely keep himself together from the altar on.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, and I'll speak to those, you know, couples and individuals too. But just like one, you know, last thing about like Shake, like you were saying, like there was a respect there, and I do believe that.
Yeah,
I really do, and I think, you know, another thing, like, you know, people may like disregard, like, although I was saying, you know, it's like I was trying to see, like, pull something out of Shake, but I wasn't getting. It's like I wasn't getting anything for me to do that, and I was like, I feel like had I said anything, I don't think that he was like ready to receive those types of messages.
Yes, I reached out to him too.
Good, yeah.
Just via text and kind of affirmed him, but also just kind of lovingly said, you know, you might consider a couple things that are doing a disservice to you.
No, for sure.
In how you're showing up everywhere. And he kind of just laughed it off and said, oh, thanks, laughed it off. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, people handle things differently, and you know, maybe I don't know, maybe he's not like narcissistic. Maybe this is just his way, like, of handling you know?
Yeah, and there's the huge topic right there, because I even have friends who are like, I want to talk about narcissism on the call, and I want to talk about like who you thought was a narcissist and who you thought wasn't a narcissist. First of all, let me say I would never ever diagnose anyone outside of a confidential office hour of really getting to know them.
Yeah.
We love to diagnose people on the internet. We love to even create the good guys and the bad guys, the narcissistic men and the victimized women on the media. So we're quick to go there. That said, let me just do a little kind of quick coaching around narcissism, which is it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay. We have all, for the most part, had some kind of hurt or injury in our early childhood or later. When we have wounds from injury, we can have some narcissistic issues, which basically means we have needs that are unmet. We haven't been fully loved. We didn't perhaps get adequate mirroring or delight, or we got over gratified, whatever it was. We all have stuff from our histories where we were hurt. And narcissism, there's really a healthy narcissism, which is it's okay to feel good about yourself. It's good to feel good about yourself and have self-esteem and confidence and feel good about who you are. On the far right end, we have narcissism and sociopathy. These are the folks who make us cringe because they don't seem to have a care or conscience for others. They don't have difficulty with exploiting or using others, particularly on the sociopathic end. And we really, really get riled up about it. Most people are not narcissistic personalities or sociopaths.
Yeah.
But they could have narcissistic issues into the mid-range, which is healthy narcissism, into the direction of people who have really, really low self-esteem, are very, very dependent and injured and don't have that much of a self, if you will. So when people say, oh, he's a narcissist, I said, well, you know, he could be on the spectrum. As we are, but how far we don't know.
Right.
Or, and I see this with a lot, and this is sort of just my personal bugaboo. I have a 22-year-old son who's autistic, very high functioning. They can also look self-centered, self-absorbed, narcissistic in their own world and have difficulty with interpersonal and social interactions. Right? So is he a narcissist, or is he a little bit more in the odd camp? Right? So I think we're quick to go to, he should be better because he can be better, and he's not being better. So if he's not being better, what is he? He must have some kind of personality disorder or something going on.
Yeah.
He definitely has interpersonal struggles, and something's going on for him in his emotional intelligence, interpersonal connections with others, and his ability to share honestly and vulnerably.
I agree.
People who are on the spectrum definitely have difficulty sharing honestly and vulnerably. They see it as weakness. It's terrifying or shame-inducing. Again, we can all kind of have those kinds of issues. And so when the heat is on and people are hating us, like, where are you going to go? You're going to go into a defensive self-protection place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is so intense. Like, all of it's coming my way. I'm just going to act like I'm great, and you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just all kind of interesting to me. Right. So that to be said, let's move on to Shane, because I've also heard people say, what is up with Shane and what happened to Shane and Natalie? I was rooting for them.
I know.
I had them as marrying.
Yeah. I mean,
welcome to join in the comments. Did you think Shane and Natalie were going to marry?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. And then they didn't.
Yeah, and then they didn't.
And we know that they had a big fight and it ended.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was interesting. So my perception leading up until the wedding, I mean, so I guess like the first two series of episodes that came out, first 2 weeks, there was something inside of me. I was like, something feels off between them. Like I felt like Shane would try and have serious conversations with her, and she would always crack jokes. She brought it very lighthearted. And so I was like, okay, and we're only seeing what we see, so we don't know the whole story. But I felt like,
Again, we're all just basing it on what was
right,
seen.
exactly. So a part of me,
Right.
okay, it seemed to me like she had a problem going deep and diving into more vulnerable topics and being vulnerable with him. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, she has, again, just going off what I see, like perhaps she has some type of guard up and she doesn't allow people to get so deep with her. But so I never saw them have like a very deep relationship. I just saw them having this like what seemed like a best friend kind of relationship. Like they were just having fun
Mm-hmm.
together. They were cutting jokes and, um, yeah, just being like very joking with one another. And it was cute. And like they were cutting up with one another and it was cute. But so I didn't necessarily see them actually getting married because I was like, something
Okay. Mm-hmm.
missing. It was
Others are agreeing with you. Yeah.
that just every single time she would just be like, she would say something and he would address it. He's like, every single time I try to have a serious conversation with you, you make a joke. He addressed that a couple of times. And I'm like,
Yes.
right, that's true. She is. But again,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, off camera, she may have been vulnerable and had that conversation, but that may have just been how they were producing her character. So
Sure.
that was my synopsis of them. But yeah,
Yes.
know about, I mean, I would love to know what their argument was about, but it was definitely heavy enough and perhaps the name calling and whatever happened.
Yeah, I think he raged at her.
Yes,
But
I think.
she also parented him about his drinking.
Mm,
He'd been drinking, and she kind of said to him, don't you think you've had enough?
that was right.
Which I think went into his not feeling good enough for her, and I'm never good enough for you, and I think it was the level of hostility and rage that came her way that was very unsettling for
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
would be.
And I thought the pairing of them originally, he presented, I mean, he's like an acquired taste for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Like he came in so energetic, bug-eyed, hyped up. People have said, gosh, is he taking drugs? Is he ADHD? What was up? Because his kinetic energy, his intensity was so huge coming in, like can't even sit still, right?
Yeah.
It seemed to settle down with her.
Mm, yeah.
And she was very even and very calm. And she was just sold on him from the beginning. And he was so much of what she isn't,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Spontaneous, electric, full of emotion and energy and playfulness. And she's just really even and I think has a hard time like letting herself go, opening up, being free,
Yeah.
very calm and contained.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were kind of, the word I keep using is provisional for each other, but then they kept combusting because he needs an awful lot of affirmation and mirroring and praise and affirmation. I wish he'd do the work around his own good enoughness.
Yes.
I
Yep.
wish he would have probably considered twice about going on the show just 3 months after the loss of his dad. Like, that's just got to be so much that he's carrying going in that he hasn't even worked through. So
Right. I agree.
kudos to him, but he seemed determined to create like some kind of legacy for his mom,
Yeah.
and get married and do good by them.
Yeah.
And he was eager to find someone.
Yeah.
And I thought it was sad in the reunion. I mean, I think they were both sad.
Yeah. I think so too.
It didn't work. And everyone else is like, but I thought you would,
Yeah.
I think sometimes you've gone as far as you can with someone and you need to call it what it is.
Yeah.
Because that same thing, unless they really worked on it, was going to erupt again, and again.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel loved. He goes after about her about not being loved enough. She takes responsibility for needing to try harder and be better for him. And, in its extreme, that's an abusive cycle. So
100%. Absolutely.
yeah. So she probably, unless he really showed up different,
Mm-hmm.
dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, you and I have done our work and continue to do our work and everything. And
It's a lifelong process.
it really is so interesting. It's a thing I question in my head. And now I'm going to say it out loud, but, I always think to myself, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm like, I'll be 37 this year and I'm single still. And I've been relatively single for a very long time. And I'm like almost, I go into the reflective of like what, I have the tendency to be like, well, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why aren't guys like knocking down my door kind of thing,
They should be.
you know?
They
And
should be, and they will.
yeah, but it's like funny, like all, and I don't say like what's wrong with me, but you know, it's like that kind of conversation. I'm like I'm very confused, like how all these people that I know haven't done their work, they're in relationships and they're getting married and blah blah blah, and then I have to kind of like talk myself into this, but they probably are going to run into challenges that they won't, like they won't know.
Here's the truth. In my 34 years in this field, no one gets around doing their work.
No, I know they don't.
Whether it's now or later, there are issues that are still there unless you do your work, your personal growth, your personal development. Some people never will.
No.
If that's important to you, I think as a choosing of a partner, if
Oh,
personal growth and evolving as a way of life is a core value, please choose that. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Someone who has that is also wants to grow and grow together and grow personally as a way of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And 37 is a great marrying age.
It is.
My first marriage was a 7-year marriage, ended at 32, and then I got married to my current husband at 35, coming on 25 years. So, you know, however you figure it out, it can happen for you. And you are such a remarkable woman and such a catch. But you want to just have the great guy who's also wanting to grow with you and can.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And can.
I always tell people that, like, the person who is meant for me is either going to be like on another level and it's going to bring me up to meet them. They're going to be on my same playing field. I said, or they're going to like want to do this journey and like rise up to meet me where I'm at.
Yes.
And I said, but anything less than that,
yes,
I won't even connect with. Like, it's just the vibration.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that. Send that message out to all the single women, single men. Like, choose well. Choose according to your worth and your value and your lovability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And choose that match. Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. Let me take a sip of wine for that. So let's talk about Sal and Mallory.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he was a shocker.
Yeah, he was. You know, again, I don't feel like they felt like a very just like friend.
Brother and sister.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Like there wasn't much for me with them. Like I was like, you know, I liked her, but he was never really doing it for me. Like, I mean, they're both like just like super chill, super nice, whatever. But
yes,
but their relationship was like, I mean, honestly, I predicted, I was like, maybe they would work because like, we're not really seeing that much like drama or challenge.
Right.
And it seems like if in the event that they were having, I mean, they had a couple of challenges and it seemed like they had a proper conversation around it to like make things okay again. Again, we were only seeing a little bit of that, but because today on the reunion, he was like, I don't feel like I was ever really heard. So that was okay.
Lori loved them. They're like, so shocked. I know.
Yeah.
Because I think we all thought that Mallory was going to be the one who just didn't have enough to go, yes, I'm all in. And it went different, right?
Yeah.
It turned a corner and it spoke to things that we didn't know of. It spoke to, you know, what's happening behind closed doors. Is there passion? Is there really fiery connection?
Yeah.
I think there's a bias and a stereotype that we definitely want that in a Latino couple, right? Like, yeah. Where is the fire?
Just like,
and we weren't really seeing that. They were so nice and they were so good and they were so kind.
Yeah.
And it was so compliant. Like,
yeah. It just wasn't like, I felt like from the engage, when they did the reveal for them, I didn't feel like she was like attracted to him. Like from the very beginning, I was like, something's just not.
She wasn't. She definitely wasn't. Mm-hmm. And she had to work her way into that. And I thought she was tentative the whole time. Like you could see her. I liked her, you know, when I coach people around dating, I basically say, you know, you definitely want to be listening to your gut and your heart, but keep that evaluative piece going.
Yeah.
Right? Use also your mind and your wisdom as you're also letting yourself be free and experiencing
Mm-hmm.
the unfolding. And
That's,
she seemed very like you could see her evaluating all along. And you're like,
yeah,
at some point, she's got to have to decide that she thinks this is it for her. And I don't feel like she ever really got there.
no, I don't think so either. I definitely don't think
Yeah.
so.
And they're lovely. They're both so lovely.
They are. They definitely are. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't have much to say about them because I just like didn't feel anything. Like that was it.
Enough substance. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, who are we missing out on? Do we want to talk more about the actual drama that happened on the actual reunion? Because I don't know about you, but that was painful
it was painful.
to watch.
It was just like, yeah. I and like, well, I will. Yeah. So I will say, loved some of the things that like the hosts were saying. Vanessa and Nick like loved some of the things that they were saying, but like I also found Vanessa, like when she got reactive towards Shake, like
Mm-hmm.
definitely got reactive. That was not her. She was definitely in her emotions at that time, and kind of like she's like we're women, of course we're gonna stick up for our
Yeah.
girls. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I actually loved it, but I also was like, oh shit.
Triggered. Like there was a lot of triggering around what Shake was saying from the standpoint of we as women, I'll just do a broad stroke here, have a lot of sensitivity around our attractiveness,
Yes.
our body size, our body issues. We are inundated from out the gate that beauty and goodness and lovability is equated to how you look on the outside.
Right.
And our culture does a number on us. So they're just across the board, there's just this sensitivity around am I physically attractive enough? Do I love my own self and my own body? And that's often a work in progress for many, many women.
Yes.
And you could just see when he stepped out of lines around what we're supposed to say to women
Right.
about this part of them.
Right.
We won't take objectifying. We won't take put downs. There's no way you can comment negatively on my outer self. Like we just won't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And you could just see all of the women go, you are out of bounds. You can't do that. You're not allowed.
Yeah, because I mean, I've struggled with body image. I mean, every woman out there has struggled with body image. Like,
Me too. And women do.
yeah. So, and then that goes into like mental health and, then we can talk about a little bit about Danielle and Nick. Like, I loved their relationship. I absolutely loved their relationship. I thought, like we were saying at the very beginning, she was very vulnerable and open and honest about her mental health and her thoughts. Just, I mean, I thought, maybe she was portrayed to look, crazy, right? Quote, let's put those quotes around that because, of course, all girls are crazy when we're like sharing our vulnerability, right? And it's like, no, we're not. Like, we just need to be more vulnerable and we need to normalize that we can express our thoughts and our feelings and share our fears with our person so that they know where we are at, so that they know, and they can help support us. And, I think I loved it so much because she was being so open because a part of her felt safe with Nick, which means Nick was offering her a safe space for her to
Thank you. Absolutely.
That
beautiful insight. Yes. They had enough foundation. He was safe enough for her to be real. And he was real with her too. He was often stuck feeling kind of hopeless, helpless on how to like engage her. Right. But it's so cool to see now that they knew that and they're getting help. And that dynamic of the man or a partner trying to fix when another one just wants to share and be heard and just be listened to. I'm certainly that person. Like, I just need to be heard and I'm very emotional and just need to get it all out. Mm-hmm. My partner, Doug, has, been well-trained over time, right? Around what's going to work, that I'm not looking for his brilliant insight. He's also a therapist or his advice in that moment. Right. I just need a forum and he's it.
Yeah.
And that's so hard for a lot of people because they just want to take the partner out of their distress.
Right.
You don't look happy. Let's get you out of that. Here, buck up or, shake it off or just stop feeling that way. So I love that I just think they're going to really work.
I do too. I do
They're
too.
going to really work for the long run because of how they've approached it, and
Yeah.
they're a real authentic couple who's trying for each other. I love them as a couple.
I do too.
I
I
also love Jarrett and Ayana as a couple.
do. I
Like
do too.
she's just the darling of the show, I feel like.
It's adorable. I mean, I will say, like, again, going off what I was witnessing was like, I didn't think that they were, I was conflicted as far as if they were going to get married or not.
Ayana and Jarrett.
Biggest thing was like, I felt that she may have said yes because she was compromising herself in order to make it work. I mean,
Mm,
yeah, he had a completely different lifestyle than she did. She was, you know, how it was
yes.
how it was perceived was that she was second choice to him. Like it was like she was. I was afraid that if she continued to have a relationship with him or get married, was that she was. It was more of like the hope that
Yes.
be able to change his ways and that things would be different and like that. And so I was like, I just hope that she doesn't lose herself trying to make things happen that may not be able to happen because I mean, but granted, like
Yes. So you had kind of a protective heart for her, like, oh my gosh, do you need to get some boundaries around him, and is he going to do it willingly for you, where
right,
you're not,
right,
I mean, they were literally the weeks before the wedding. Like this is only what, a 7-week journey, but
yeah,
he's out 3 of the nights partying with friends,
right,
right?
exactly, right,
I
exactly. And
like how she drew boundaries for
I
herself and
know,
asserted with him and said, that's not what I'm looking for. And I'm going to need to see something real
right,
change around that. Because
exactly.
that's not a Marian lifestyle.
No, no, it's definitely not. And I loved hearing that they have made those compromises.
And are still trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, expressed on the reunion today. I watched it today. Oh, as they expressed on the reunion, like
It's
it's
a
just,
big day for you around this.
I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I've done so many things today. But
You
yeah,
have.
I do. I hope and pray for the best for them. But again, they could have been like creating storylines a little bit too. They could have just made it simple
Yes.
without partying all the time, and she was this super big homebody.
Yes. That might have been their one issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like they had to create an issue for them in a sense.
Yes, because I thought just around the energy and playfulness, their faith,
Yeah.
who they both are with each other. They were both authentic and real with each other. I just love them. And you catch them dancing, in stuff that didn't always make it onto the show, dancing a lot and playful. I just love that. And I think that's the thing that so often gets lost in mature relationship. And if
Mhm.
you never really had that at the get-go, it's really hard to cultivate it. So
Yeah.
to
No,
have a playful kind of fun, mutual interest, and a way to spar and flirt with each other that's really well established, like I
absolutely.
love seeing that. That was sweet.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. So I guess the last ones to like talk about, I guess, is like Shayna and Kyle or Shayna and
Yes.
the weave there. We don't have to spend too much time on them, but yeah, it was interesting. I agree with Shayna. Like she should have said no from the very beginning with Kyle. Like, yeah, you know, um, because she was never going to compromise and she was never going to be
Right.
something she wasn't. And that is,
Right.
your sexuality is a strong belief. I mean, I went on
Yeah.
dates last year and I went on two, I thought they were great dates, but there was just something that this guy was like, I just will never align with your like holistic ways of thinking and living. Like, I just won't. And I'm like,
Well,
okay.
we're done. Then we're
I was like,
done.
well, I was like, didn't understand because it's not like, when we were talking about things, he wasn't like giving me like a weird look or arguing the thought. He was very open to it, but which was great. I mean, I'm glad that he received it that way and whatever. But I was like, that was so it kind of like took me off guard when he said that because I was like, oh,
Right.
like, but like what wasn't aligned for you? Like, are you like you don't believe in that type of stuff at all?
Right.
Like you don't believe.
You just made a big round package of it and said no.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like what part of holistic like do you not believe in? Like you didn't get it. So I mean that's water under the bridge. But it was just like very interesting. But I'm like, you're right. I would never compromise. Like, I mean, now where I'm at in my spiritual journey, it's like I could never I couldn't probably be with someone that wasn't again aligned with my spiritual growth and
Yes.
like, I'm very open. And that's what I said to the guy was like, I'm very open to hearing more about where you're at. So maybe I can learn maybe new perspectives on things. And I was like, so I would love to maybe go on a third date with you so that you can share more about you in that regard for me so that it can maybe open my eyes to newer concepts or whatever, especially because I had no clue what he was talking about. Oh, but he was like, no, like, I just think that it's like, this is it. And I was like,
Yeah.
look, bye. Bye, bye. But yeah, you're never going to like compromise that. And,
Yeah.
you know, I know Shayna got, you know, it seemed like a very similar situation as far as like Jessica from my season. And
Yes.
that was all production. That was not Shayna like trying to go.
Yeah, and I connected with Shayna, and they were literally talking in her family's home for 8 hours with Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that one interaction of her family's contemptuous faces towards his lack of faith.
Right.
But
right.
it was actually a decent day that everybody thought was meaningful.
Yes.
And then
yeah.
It just painted her family as just this toxic Christian family who just, you're out of here.
Yeah.
And that's not really how it went down in real life.
No.
But I agree with you. I wonder, you know, just the anxiety of being on a show, how good is your capacity to have clarity around what you're experiencing and choosing? And I think I like him, and I don't know. I don't want to cut it off too soon. So I'm saying yes, even though I don't really want to marry him. Like, love is blurry.
Seriously. Yeah.
And it's crystal clear when you find your right person.
Yes.
But there's a lot of blurriness in the discovery and trying to figure out who's for who. Like, so she said yes, and then she changed her mind later. Well, that was right for everybody. Yeah. That was not a match that was going to work.
No. And I mean, as soon as she got to Mexico, she knew. She left, you know, she was like, I can't do this. And she left, you know, and so, you know, I feel like she wanted to try to make it work because I do think that she was attracted on an emotional level in other ways with him. And so I think that's why she was trying to like give it a shot with him. And like I said, I think the whole like love triangle that they were trying to like put together was just production. I don't think Shayna ever had any type of like, you know, she was moved on from Shane and Natalie, like
yes.
on from Shane, let's put it that way. Like, I don't think that was like a thing.
Yeah, I don't either. And do you think that was why don't you have a conversation if you're at the beach and go over there and pull Shane aside? Do you think that was show prompted? Mm-hmm. Might have too. Yeah, she did a great job of it.
Whenever there's some type of drama, insider scoop, it's probably prompted by.
Right, inserted. Yeah. Yeah. And so she did it. That was some really good acting.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Someone was just asking if there's going to be a season 3 of Love is Blind. I do know that they're doing this new show, The Ultimatum, which is, you know, I'm going to be hanging around for that. We can talk again, girl. Right?
Yeah, definitely again.
Right.
Yes.
About married couples being able to choose different partners or.
That's why I think.
Right. Which kind of looks like what they're doing after the fact when we see all of these pictures with Salvador and Dee and Kyle and Natalie. Like, we're seeing all these kind of like pictures out there that I don't know if they're real or they're just getting us all to go, whoa.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Who knows what's really going on behind closed doors out there. But yes, there is a season 3 for Love is Blind. They've already filmed it. I want to say it'll probably be like it'll either come out the same time. So ours launch Valentine's weekend. This one launched Valentine's weekend. So I imagine that they'll air it.
Oh, all right.
I imagine they'll air it.
That makes sense.
Next year because they'll probably do an after the altar like they did for us. They'll like, you know, probably anytime this fall. I'm sure
another big dramatic get together where everybody can
probably
show up so brilliantly.
I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I think that that's how they will do it. But
yes. And did we cover all the couples? Did we do it all? Let's take a few questions that because stuff is flying through here. Wonderful audience and chatters and commenters. Yay. Thank you so much. So appreciate the engagement.
Yeah.
So many questions and comments have flown by us that I've not been able to grab hold of. But let's just pause for a minute, guys. If you have a question of Kelly, or you have a question about any of it, if you want to know more, can't wait for season 3. Awesome. You are welcome to have our very special guest, who is a celebrity in her own right, and also an amazing women's coach who's helping women come alive in all of their being, like she has done in her own life, which I have mad props to you for that. You have really taken your journey and turned it into a helping thing for yourself, and a mission to other women who are benefiting from your journey and your wisdom. So bravo, and thank you for being that woman.
I know. It's like some days I'm like, did God just like tap me on the shoulder one day and was like, something needs to change, Kelly. Something needs to change. And I was like, okay.
That's right. That's how it works. And I'm glad you listened, right? Because if we would listen, even to our own heart, or even to the patterns in our life that continue to repeat themselves, if we continue to live lives that are not what we want them to be, what we long for them to be, or they've run amok, or we're hurting, can I just say, please, please, there's absolutely great self-esteem in choosing to get help. There's no stigma, there's no shame. Rise up, take care of yourselves. You matter, your mental health matters. What you really want in this life matters. We both agree, don't settle, do your work, go after it. Something about rejection. What was that? Kelly, how were you able to cope with the rejection? That's a great question. How did you cope with the rejection?
Yeah. So again, I had invested in a business and mindset coach, actually. So I was health coaching, I don't know, 5 years prior to doing Love is Blind. And then, after the show, I was like, because I was just like so much mental chaos from everything. I was just, again,
I cannot imagine.
The rejection.
I think it's potentially traumatizing for people.
It is. It 100%. So it was just like so painful, that rejection. And so I was like, oh, I'm just, as most humans do, we avoid dealing with shit. So I was like, go all in on my business and like hire a business coach to like help me grow my business. And like,
so you got busy.
Yeah. So I just like got busy, but obviously she was a mindset coach, and mindset is literally like 95% of everything. Like if you aren't doing the inner work, it's not that you won't have what you're wanting. It's not that you won't become what you want to become or be able to do the things that you want to do. But I swear, if you start changing things in your mind, you're going to get there faster, period. So you could have the strategy, you could have as much business strategy or whatever type of strategy it is. But if you are not shifting the things in your mind, it's just another level of like game changing.
Yes, and I would absolutely, and I would stack on that to say, if we don't recover, if we don't rework those old core beliefs of injury from our history, our own traumas, if we don't do that work and start to exactly transform our minds, you're right, that's where it happens for people. So your work was about doing that work. That helped with the overcoming rejection.
Absolutely. So the mindset coach helped me.
You froze a little for me, but I'm hoping that's just me.
Oh, okay. No, I would say this with the mindset coach. She helped me significantly in so many different areas of my life. And then on top of that, I was practicing, and I still do practice. I wake up every single morning and I have a routine. I learned from the book, The Miracle Morning. It's the Lifesavers. So like SAVERS as an acronym, and it's literally something for you to do. It's 6 steps of like meditation, journaling, affirmations, visualization. It's a whole like take care of you. It's you and you. And after, like, it's to lift your vibration. It's to focus on yourself first thing in the morning before you start pouring into others, because as you start to pour into others, you are draining your energetic battery. And if at the end of the day you've been constantly pouring into others, then at the end of the day, you're like, I have no energy to give myself. And that's what a lot of times, like, people also, when they, I always suggest people like get up and have a morning routine, try and like exercise first thing in the morning, because I given and given and given, and you try and exercise at 6 o'clock at night.
This is another kind of add-on question to that, going a little deeper. What what is it about your life and personality that caused you to take a transformational path? You have such an amazing testimony.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, what about okay, so this was back in 2017. I realized that I was doing the same thing over and over again, week after week. I was in a very unfulfilling, like corporate 9 to 5 job, which was fine. No hate on 9 to 5. I think they're great. If you love your job, you love your job. But I was very unfulfilled. I felt like I was just going to work for a paycheck and to see my friends every day. I remember staring out the window every day, like, God, I just wish I was like outside. Like, what am I doing here, kind of thing. I So it was like I went to work Monday through Friday. I then just was so I've always been a social butterfly, but like I was just starting to hang out in crowds that I shouldn't have necessarily been hanging out in, put it that way. And I wasn't getting myself involved in what they were doing, but I was there, and so guilty by association. So I didn't love that, and it's like it was getting to the point, like, I mean, my boss one time, like I was drinking, going out partying Thursday through Sunday. And it was like repeating and repeating. So like for weeks, like every Friday, it's either I would show up late to work because I was severely hungover or something, you know, and like literally like one of my coworkers put like Advil and like a Coke on my desk one time when I got to work. I was like, he's like, I think you're going to need this. And I was like, oh my God. But it was like that for a while. And I'm not talking about like a month. Like, I mean, for over a year, it was the same cycle.
Painful.
The dating and relationships, you know, there wasn't a relationship. It was always dating, but like guys that would, you know, maybe take me out once and then like talk about ghosting. It was like, then they would ghost, or they just wouldn't want to make a commitment to me. And obviously I was probably giving myself sexually to these guys before I should have either. But I was just so in a different, I had no boundaries. I was a fixer, quote unquote. I like people that obviously now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I was the one who needed some repair, not them, you know? I mean, I was attracting people that also weren't, you know, we were vibrating.
Good for you.
Yeah, vibrating at the same frequency, basically. And then I would, and it was rejection after rejection after rejection. And I'm like, okay, literally, like I've been single for however many years it had been at this point. And I was like, why? It's like, why is like it just doesn't seem like my life has any direction. I'm super unfulfilled. I have no relationship. Like, and I was, I guess I was right around 30 years old, maybe. And then I had some health issues. Like there was just like everything like all at once. I mean, so 17, I decided to leave corporate America because I was health coaching. And that was like one of the big things why I left corporate America was because I was health coaching and I was a trainer for an all audio based fitness app at the time. And I was receiving from people saying, you're changing my life. You are so inspiring. You're changing my life. Your workouts are like significantly helping me, not because I look better, but I feel better. Like I actually feel sexy with my husband now, like all this stuff. And I was like, I've been literally working corporate America for 9 or 10 years now. And I've never received a message like that. And so I have
like a little reward for the journey, like a little like, oh my gosh, I'm having impact.
Right. Like I'm actually creating some impact. So yeah, so pulling the ripcord there. And then I started like some man that I had connected with on Instagram, actually. I don't know, like watching his Instagram stories, like he was like reading all these like self-help books and he was meditating and all these things. And so anyways, we had started connecting, and I was like, there's no guy that I know that does that kind of thing. So he actually was like very inspiring for my journey. Started my journey. I like that Miracle Morning. I think he was the one who like recommended it to me. And so it was like that person was put into my life to help change my life. And it was significant. And so, yeah, I started listening to podcasts and reading all these personal development books. I was like, my parents were concerned because for months they were like, you don't go out with your friends anymore. Like, do you are you okay? Are you like, like, are you depressed? Are you like, I was like, I'm fine. I just want to like stay in. I don't want to drink anymore. I just want to like read this book. It's really good. Like, but this is just weird. Like I completely like 180'd my life. And it was, although I will say it got very lonely though, because it's like, I had friends that were married and having kids, and then I had my friends that were going out. I didn't have the single friends in the in-between stage that were doing this kind of work. And so
Yes.
I started because of the podcast that I was listening to, you know, I would join Facebook groups, and then I started connecting with other people. I joined a mastermind and started to like
Nice.
all of these women that were like on the same path as me, these like online coaches and whatever, entrepreneurs and single girls and whatever. And I was like, wow. So I started like finding my like tribe of people.
Find your tribe who wants to grow too, and who's going inward and trying to understand themselves and want to be better women and want to live better and want to be all they can be.
Exactly.
Yes.
It was
So
awesome.
it was your time, but you had also worn yourself out with a lifestyle that was really starting to hurt.
Yes.
And then you got some hope by seeing that there are other people who live differently around mindset and self-improvement and personal growth. And how would you describe your life now?
It's well, I wake up with gratitude every single day. I mean, I practice gratitude every day, but even I mean, there are times like, yeah, I'm not perfect, you know, and
We're not shooting for that.
no, like there are times like I get very triggered and very reactive with certain people in my life, and that is stuff that is still things. Those are still situations that I am working on and trying to do things, and I'm going inward to be like, okay, well, what is like attracting this, or like why can't I honor a boundary around this? Like how can I be more responsive versus reactive? Like I'm trying to do the work around that to you know, but regardless, like I mean, I literally just turn to gratitude with everything, and it makes me just feel so much more alive. Like I just feel alive now. I'm attracting guys, although maybe it's not all the time, but like the relationships or the caliber of men that I am attracting into my life are so wonderful. I mean, I had like an experience with a man who I guess, you know, we wanted to like try to date or whatever, and he took me on a date. He took me to dinner to tell me, I know where you are and I'm not ready for that.
Wow.
I know. And I was like, because all he had to do was text me and be like, I'm just not ready, you know? But to like actually take me on a date for us to like get to know each other even more, although we know that we want to like have a relationship, just like level and whatever, like it was so respectful. And I'm like, I'm just more attracted to you now because you just did that.
But now you showed me your insight and you're like the window into your soul, and I'm like, oh no.
It's like, oh my God, but I love that. And I have so much more respect for that person because he did that. It was so cool. And so I'm like, every guy that I've been going on dates with, also
higher caliber, they're more resonant with you as you're in your growth process, as you're still in process. And we never stop being in process. We all keep just walking each other home, right? We are continuing to grow, but this journey is about becoming the one and then finding the one who's in sync with us. It's not about finding the one who can make us better. It's about finding two of you, both who are trying to grow and be better humans, and you have those core values that are lining up. So that's really cool to hear that you're actually attracting now what you're longing for because of who you are and how you're valuing yourself and how you're living energetically every day. Like, yay! Let that be an example to those who are also in this, you know, in their 30s, trying to find the one. You are definitely not alone. I think it's a great marrying time, particularly more so for men than women, perhaps, but awesome. Walking each other home. Yes, yes. Okay, I'm going to take one more question and then we're going to wrap because this has turned into a long live because it's been great and amazing and deep. So I'm going to take one more question. First of all, also thank you so much for your transparency and your honesty. When we tell our authentic story, we help others get in touch with theirs. We give permission for other people to get honest. When we are light, we end up provoking light in others, and you're just so doing that, and I so appreciate that in you. So one more question, guys. Yes. There is more for everyone in your life. Okay, one more question. If I don't get one, we're just going to wrap up. Going one, she is such a bright light. Yes. Oh, the last question is, so is love blind?
Yes. Yes, I have been asked this question before, and yes, love is blind. And I think the biggest part of that is Love is Blind to yourself. Because like I said, that show opened me up to self-love. And I think
Yes.
for most of the other cast members, whether season 1 or season 2, they will all say the same thing. It is like you really, like wherever you are at in life right now, like there's so much more of you to discover, and because you're
Yes.
blind to that right now. So like
Yes.
start your personal development, self-love journey like right now, and I promise
Yes.
2 months
Great.
from now you'll feel even better.
Great distinctions. I believe Love is Blind too. If my husband Doug and I would have met in a bar, we would not have sought each other out. Our love came from very deep, meaningful, emotional connection and falling in love with each other's souls. And that has not stopped. Here's where I cry. In 25 years, I'm so blessed, as is he. But our love is blind. It was, yes, there's all the goodies, because we want all the goodies, and all of that is alive and well, always has been, that physical chemical attraction. But it was about this inside. And when we go deep and we share ourselves and we get known, and somebody else does that with us, then you've got the gold. So
Yeah. I love
thank you so much for joining me. And I knew I'd love you. I love you even more than I imagined. And I'm so grateful to you for doing this. Everyone wins because of how you have shared today. And I'm just blessed by it. And I'm sure everybody was too. So you guys, thanks for being here. Signing off. Love is Blind. Cheers. Go capture your own love for yourself and love with a partner.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. Have a
You
good
got it, girl.
night. Thank you. Bye.